morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm going to do that again. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Perfect. So we're here celebrating 10 years of care experience success. So whenever there's a birthday party, what do we normally do? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear NAVSH. Happy birthday to you. Woo! Brilliant. So firstly, I want to say thank you to Calvin for finding me and for Matthew Cook for inviting me to speak at this, what I call a historical moment of NAVSH celebrating its 10th birthday. I'd also like to thank the trustees for extending this invitation for my brother to attend with me today. Thank you very much. Now, whenever we achieve a special, significant, personal milestone, be that a birthday or an anniversary, many of us will use the time to not only celebrate, but also look back and reflect on the journey it has taken for us to get there. We may reflect on the highs and the lows, the people we've lost along the way, and the birthing of new friendships and relationships, which have all played their part in helping us to achieve our special moment. But after reflecting, we often turn our attention to the next chapter of our lives, to wonder about what lies ahead or proactively make new plans with the intention of doing and achieving more. This same principle can be used here today. NAVSH, you're celebrating a significant milestone of achieving 10 years of championing the education of children and young people in care. Over that decade, you've worked so hard to make sure our educational needs are met. And you've worked in partnership with experts and researchers to build on the knowledge and insight that you need to help complete the mission of improving our outcomes. Now, reflecting on those 10 years, you can really see what's gone well and what's not gone well. You can see where you've had to tweak and change your practice to achieve your goal. And you can also see where you had to say goodbye to members of your team and hello to new starters that bring a fresh perspective and also promise. But after this time of reflecting, your attention must now turn to your next chapter, your next decade, to not only wonder about what lies ahead, but proactively make new plans with the intention of doing more and achieving more to fulfill your mission. Now, in planning your way forward to do and achieve more, you could build a strategy that is based on the yearly national statistics that's always released by the Department of Education. And this has a focus on the outcomes of looked after children of care leavers. But for me, those reports seem to always paint a picture and use language that tell a story that influences the reader to believe how likely, how less likely, and how much less likely we, the care experience, are able to succeed in comparison to our peers. And if we're completely honest, those reports do not inspire hope or confidence within the sector. With that in mind, it is my hope that these reports will one day start to convey balanced findings that include care experience stories of success. Including these stories will influence the reader to see that in spite of our adverse childhood experiences, we can succeed. Including these stories will inspire hope and confidence within the sector. And including these stories will bring hope to the current and next care experience generation. With that being said, I'd like to take you on a journey and share with you a story about a girl who was placed in foster care at age 9. My story. So my story begins with a sudden surprise of being placed in care. This happened when my mum felt she could no longer look after me and take care of my brother. They were married young, my mum was a nurse, and my dad was a welder, and he worked away from home. The breakup of the family came when life at home began to take its toll, and I was separated from my mum, who moved to the USA, and my dad, who remained working in Germany. And my brother, he was placed with different foster carers. Now, we could have gone to live with our mum or our dad, but when our social worker considered our feelings and wishes, she was surprised to hear that we wanted to remain in Bristol. The truth is, we love both of our parents and didn't want to choose, and we also hoped that Mum would change her mind. Now, living with my foster mum, Mr. and Mrs. Laws, they applied for me to go to the local grammar school, which meant that I had to pass a basic English and maths test before being able to attend. Now, I don't remember when, but not long after settling into this new school, I was excluded. I was excluded from being on site during lunch times, which meant I had to go home, and lucky for the school, I lived 5 minutes away. And I was also subject to fixed-term exclusions. Now, the exclusions didn't consist of me being sent to a pupil referral unit or sent to an alternative provision, because they didn't exist in my day. Instead, I was sent home to engage in what I call life skills training. Cleaning, cooking, washing, ironing, budgeting, grocery shopping, repeat. Cleaning, cooking, washing, ironing, budgeting, grocery shopping, repeat. How many times can anyone clean an already clean house? I'll never know. But these life skills have served me well to this very day. With my behaviour challenging school staff, there were those who would openly share that they saw no hope in my future. But there were a select few that I'd gravitate to, sensing that they understood me and saw something in me that I hadn't yet seen in myself. This was Mr. Baber. He was my biology teacher. And this was Miss Wanless. She was my art teacher. They naturally embodied a pastoral care without the title and without the pay. And they took the time to give me a firm and fair pep talk and then advocate on my behalf to their colleagues. Parents' evening was also a revealer of my capabilities, when after each meeting, my foster mum would come home and take one look at me before saying, "The teachers tell me you can do the work, but you keep messing about. Carry on, Miss Judith, carry on." So I'm a British-born child to Jamaican parents, and I knew exactly what this Jamaican foster care was saying. In her own way and in her own words, she was recognizing and affirming my ability to do well, but at the same time telling me to do better and be better, and this was one of her many pep talks. Now, I managed to leave school with just one GCSE in English, and I then enrolled into college to study A-levels and also what we now call functional skills. But here came another exclusion. Caught up in a fight, I was arrested and taken to the local police station to wait for an appropriate adult. Hearing the warning pep talk of my foster mum ringing in my thoughts, I chose not to call her. So I let the officers know that I was in care and gave them the name of my social worker. Her name was Jean Gilrain. But Jean didn't come to the police station. She called my foster mum, who turned up with my biological uncle Joseph. He took one look at me and tutted, but my foster mum took me to task. "I have one son, and I've never set foot inside of a police station. And you, Miss Judith?" I didn't need to hear anymore. I completely understood her message. Now, during this time, I had aspirations of becoming a lawyer. I was studying A-level law, but I knew that a criminal record would prevent me from entering the profession. And so as I waited in the cell to be processed, I whispered a prayer that I believe God heard. And this saw the charges dropped and the principal of my college allowing me back to return and complete my studies. But on my return, my self-esteem began to dip, which impacted on my focus and my attendance. But a pep talk from my law tutor, Vince, that was instigated by my brother, who also attended the college at that time, soon saw me back on track, and I passed my A-levels and my functional skills. Turning my attention to higher education, I didn't have enough entry points to start studying for a law degree. But after negotiating with the admissions team at the University of Derby, they offered me a place to study BTEC Business and Finance, but they agreed that if I passed the first year and gained enough points, I could then transfer on to study law. Now, at university, there were no exclusions, but as time went on, I began to question my ability and considered dropping out and returning home. However, one of my law lecturers, Miss Tina Hart, she got wind of what I was about to do, and she summoned me to her office. The pep talk she gave me caused me to stay on at university, graduate with a bachelor's degree in law, and then move on to the College of Law in York. Now, I must be honest with you and share that along my journey, I felt an undercurrent of emotions that eventually erupted like a volcano when I became a care leaver, and this saw me hospitalized for 2 weeks. My road to complete recovery came through the medium of therapy. Connecting the dots over a 12-month period, I learned that I had been carrying painful thoughts and feelings of rejection, hurt, and anger for being placed in care. I'd also been carrying thoughts of being unloved. I learned that I had masked those thoughts and feelings by subconsciously acting as if I was okay, but that from time to time, those feelings would surface and manifest in my behavior and reactions. I learned that I was in survival mode the whole time, trying my best to keep up and keep living. But with the compounded triggers and stresses within my care journey, my thoughts and feelings began to snowball, causing me to shut down and become severely depressed. I learned about the power of forgiveness, and I made the journey to the United States and to Germany to reconnect with my mum and also my dad. I also learned about how to forgive myself and gain the strength I needed for the next chapter. Now, on the other side of therapy, I was divinely gifted with mentors, June, Carver, and Herman, and they gave me a pep talk that encouraged me to see that I still had the ability to achieve, and they also guided me to carefully consider about what I wanted to do with my life. Did I want to continue pursuing a career in law, or did I want a fresh start? Opting for a fresh start, I entered the financial industry, securing a role as a mortgage advisor and then a financial advisor. But it was the opportunities within corporate social responsibility that caused me to again press pause and consider what I wanted to do with my life. You see, in my role as financial advisor, I re-entered the world of secondary school to teach basic money management skills. And as I observed the behavior of some of the pupils, I was transported right back to my early years, and something in me began to stir. Talking through what I felt with my mentors, I knew I had to help the next generation of care-experienced children and young people, and I began to prepare. My way forward out of the financial industry came when the credit crunch hit the UK, and redundancies swept across the sector. Leaving the financial industry, the door opened for me to work as a behaviour teaching assistant and coincidentally support children and young people in care who had been excluded or were at risk of exclusion. This saw the birthing of my organisation, the Transformed You, providing a bespoke intervention and support mentoring service to help improve the outcomes and life chances of children and young people in care who have behaviour, emotional and social difficulties. You see, children and young people, we enter the care system filled with trauma, rejection and fear. Our adverse childhood experiences impact on how we grow and how we develop. And this can present as behaviour and emotional difficulties that impact on our school performance, it impacts on our home life, and also impacts on our social interactions. These difficulties can also have an impact on how we see ourselves and how we see our future. With that in mind, our service focuses on teaching our mentees how to identify and channel their emotions. We teach them how to respond and work through their challenging times. We support them to learn how to develop social skills, healthy social skills, and empower them to have a positive sense of who they are. We affirm their ability to achieve their aspirations, and we help them create a pathway on how to make their dreams a reality. We support them to express their views, feelings, and wishes to professionals to make sure their needs are met. And we equip them with life skills for life after care. This we do to improve their outcomes and life chances, and guide them to produce their own version of a care experience story of success. I've also set up the Black Care Experience, carrying on the work that began in the 1980s to help shape a better care experience for our Black children and young people whose ethnic origin is either African, Caribbean, including mixed race with African or Caribbean heritage. You see, whilst there are complex challenges faced by all who enter the care system, Black children and young people experience an extra layer of challenges that can result in the poorest outcomes and life chances in comparison to any other ethnic group in the care system. This is because we're not always matched with families that can keep us connected to our culture, identity, and heritage. This impacts on how we are cared for and impacts on how we view ourselves and how we view our community. There's little to no preparation for the wider world of racism and discrimination, with some experiencing this as we journey through the care system. And our ability to achieve our aspirations are not always affirmed and championed. And so actively shining a light in this area, we have an annual conference that is open to all who work in children's social care to come together and hear the accounts of care leavers who courageously provide insight to help make a difference. We have a charter for the workforce to sign up to and promise to be a part of the change we need to see. And we have a network of supporters who stand with us to help the current and next Black in care generation produce their own versions of care experience stories of success. So now you've heard my honest account of my story, but there are many other care experience stories with their own unique versions of how they've achieved and improved their outcomes and life chances in spite of the traumatic experiences that led them to being placed in the care system. Some have achieved through the academics, some through vocational training, and some through apprenticeships. We've learned that our care experience is a chapter in our life and is not the end of our story, and that there are many, many more experiences ahead of us. And so, we are authors, actors, we're doctors, we're nurses, TV presenters, athletes, footballers, we're entrepreneurs, lecturers, and teachers. You'll find us working in government, in the financial industry, in construction, in hospitality. You'll find us in the legal world and in the music, fashion, and entertainment industry. Some of us have our parents with our own beautiful families that will not be a repeat of the dysfunction we came from. And some of us have bravely returned to work in children's social care to help make a difference. Now, please forgive me if I haven't mentioned all the industries and all the sectors and all the different aspects of life that we live. But if you look closely, you'll find us learning, growing, and developing, and on track to do great things. We're being cheered on by our community of genuine supporters, and also our close circle of trusted advisors that help to keep us accountable and keep us on track and true to who we are. And as humans, yes, we still face challenging and difficult times, but reflecting on the pep talks we've received along the way and embracing the new pep talks that come along with an on-time fresh perspective, we're able to ground ourselves, take care of our well-being, and keep on living, thriving, and winning. And so, I encourage you, NAVSH, that as you get ready to move forward into your next decade, to continue fulfilling your mission of championing our education to improve our outcomes, please, please don't opt for business as usual. Instead, be proactive and make new plans to build a strategy that includes care experience stories of success. Include stories that will influence the reader to believe that in spite of our adverse childhood experiences, we can succeed. Include stories that bring hope to the current and next care experience generation. Include stories that inspire confidence in your partnerships and across the sector. And include stories that will encourage you to see that your labor is not in vain. But remember, as you plan, be very aware that many will still doubt and say they see no hope in our future. And that's okay. To me, they're entitled to their opinion, but they do not have the final say. Because whenever a care experienced child, young person, or adult becomes ready, open, and willing to receive support through a mentor or receive support wrapped up in a pep talk, I'm sure that we can now all agree that their version of success is much likely and very much likely, because as I always say, change is possible. Thank you for listening.